The night Necker went into labor, the sky over Asaba churned with restless clouds, thick and heavy like a bad omen. The midwives whispered among themselves, exchanging wary glances as Necker screamed, her voice sharp as a blade slicing through the humid air. Something was wrong. The child refused to come out for hours, and when she finally did, the room went silent. No cries. No wails. Just a thick, suffocating stillness. Then, the midwife gasped. The baby. She had 4 breasts. 2 sat on her chest like any other child's, but the second pair rested just beneath them, smaller, yet unmistakably real. The room trembled with tension. This is not normal, one of the midwives stammered. The elder of the group, a woman with faded tribal marks and wisdom in her bones, stepped forward, her voice low. She is neither cursed nor ordinary. This child will bring greatness or destruction. Necker, weak and drenched in sweat, clutched her baby protectively. But outside, rumors had started spreading like wildfire. As she grew, the whispers never stopped.
Ara Nwanyi Asaba.
The woman with 4 breasts. Some called her an abomination, a sign that the gods were displeased. Others swore she was touched by spirits, a being beyond mortal understanding. Even her own father refused to look at her, convinced she was a punishment for unknown sins. But strange things began to happen. The crops in the village farms grew at an unnatural pace. Lush and abundant. Yet, on the nights the wind howled through Asaba, the leaves would twist and wither as though drained of life. Chickens laid eggs with no yolks. Goats gave birth to twins with extra limbs, and the village well, once a source of clear water, began to bubble ominously under the full moon. Some swore they saw shadows slithering in the corners of their huts, whispering in voices they did not recognize. She could predict things before they occurred. Deaths, misfortunes, betrayals. Her presence unnerved people. Men who mocked her found their wives barren. Women who scorned her lost their voices in the night. By the time she turned 16, villagers either feared her or worshipped her. Then, one night, something happened that forced her into seclusion. It started with a wealthy man, Obiora, who sought her out in secret. He had heard the whispers that she could grant a man wealth beyond imagination. "What do you seek?" she asked, her voice unnervingly calm. "Riches," Obiora replied. "I want my name to be feared. My lineage to never know poverty." She smiled. A slow, knowing smile. "Everything has a price." Obiora did not hesitate. "I will pay it." 3 nights later, his first son drowned in shallow water. His second son choked on a bone. His wealth came, but his lineage began to crumble. The town turned against her. "She is a witch. A demon," they cried. She fled into the dense forest on the outskirts of Asaba, where the air was thick with unseen spirits. And yet, despite the fear, people still sought her out. They came in the dead of night. Desperate men and women, kneeling before her, begging for wealth, power, love. And she granted their wishes, but always at a cost. A woman who begged for eternal beauty, woke up to find her reflection missing from every mirror. A man who wanted political power gained it, only to discover his own shadow whispered his darkest secrets to his enemies. Yet, they kept coming. Over time, she became a legend. A ghost story. Some claimed they still saw her deep in the forest, her 4 breasts a mark of her eternal power. Others whispered that she had become something else, not dead, not alive, but watching. Waiting. And sometimes, in the still of the night, a desperate soul will disappear into the forest, searching for her. Some never return. Others come back rich beyond belief. But always, with something missing. Years passed, and the world changed. The old ways faded, swallowed by modern times. But the whispers never truly died. One evening, Ndubizi, a young businessman drowning in debt, heard the story from an elder at a local bar. Drunk and desperate, he laughed. Fairy tales, he scoffed. But the old man's eyes darkened. He leaned in, his breath thick with palm wine. If you don't believe, why don't you seek her out? Ndubizi's laughter faded. That night, with nothing left to lose, he ventured into the ancient forest. Guided only by moonlight and madness. The deeper he went, the more the trees twisted, their trunks resembling watching faces. The air grew thick, suffocating. He swore he could hear whispers, soft, beckoning. Then he saw her.
Ara Nwanyi Asaba.
She looked unchanged. Her four breasts sat proudly on her chest, her skin as smooth as untouched clay. Her eyes, black as the void, bore into his soul. You seek wealth? Her voice was like the wind through dead leaves. Ndubizi fell to his knees. Yes. Anything. I will pay whatever price. She smiled. 3 days later, Ndubizi returned home. His debts were gone. His account was overflowing. His mansion was the talk of the town. But his wife noticed something wrong. He no longer blinked. He never spoke of his journey. He was conflicted, but could not confide in anyone. And worst of all, whenever he thought no one was watching, he would whisper to something unseen. One night, out of curiosity, his wife crept to the living room, where he sat alone. His back was turned. As she stepped closer, she saw Ndubizi's lips moving rapidly, his voice a hushed murmur. But he was not alone. A shadow, darker than the dimly lit room, stretched unnaturally beside him. It flickered and shifted, as though responding to his whispers. Her breath caught in her throat. The air felt thick, pressing against her chest. Ndubizi, she called out softly. He stopped. His head snapped toward her, too fast, too sharp. His eyes, wide and unblinking, bore into her. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice layered, as if two voices spoke at once. She staggered back, her heart pounding. Who were you talking to? Ndubizi smiled, a hollow, joyless grin. Go back to bed, my love. Behind him, the shadow shifted again, growing taller. His wife turned and ran. Days later, Ndubizi was gone. Vanished without a trace. His mansion, abandoned. His wealth, untouched. Some say he was claimed by the darkness he once whispered to. Others believe he walks still, unseen, in the spaces where light dares not reach. But one thing is certain, when the night is deep and the wind moans through Asaba, those who listen closely swear they can still hear his voice. Whispering to something that does not answer. Not all riches come without a price. And some whispers are better left unheard. Thank you for watching. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you have any story ideas or requests, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with your family and friends. And don't forget to subscribe for more content. Remain blessed.